The House voted overnight to take back $9 billion in federal funding for foreign aid and public media. And President Trump says he wants to sue the Wall Street Journal over an article linking him to Jeffrey Epstein. Good morning, I'm Janine Herbst from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Public media stations around the country are waking up to a new reality. The House of Representatives voted late in the night to take back $9 billion in already approved federal funding for foreign aid and money for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds NPR, PBS, and their member stations. Republican Steve Scalise.
Getting spending under control. Does it answer all the problems? No. $9 billion, I would say, is a good start.
But Democratic House Whip Hakeem Jeffries says it's reckless.
It's going to undermine the ability of people in rural America and in small-town America to receive advance warning or necessary information when disaster strikes.
NPR CEO Catherine Marr says according to the CPB, some stations expecting to receive the funds that are now canceled face bankruptcy by October. President Trump is threatening to sue the Wall Street Journal and its owner for publishing an article linking him to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. As NPR's Stephen Fowler reports, the Journal obtained a letter allegedly sent by Trump to Epstein for his 50th birthday.
In a Truth Social post, Trump said the Wall Street Journal was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake. Later, Trump also said in a post he asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce, quote, any and all pertinent grand jury testimony in Epstein's case. For more than a week, Trump has faced controversy over the so-called Epstein files that Trump once told his supporters he would release, then his administration said didn't exist, and that he now falsely claims is a, quote, hoax pushed by Democrats and, quote, stupid Republicans. Stephen Fowler, NPR News.
Meanwhile, the House last night laid the groundwork for a possible vote, calling on the Justice Department to release material on its investigation into Epstein, but the measure is non-binding and it hasn't been scheduled for a vote. In a social media post, Attorney General Pam Bondi said she will ask the court to unseal some of the grand jury transcripts. The White House says President Trump's bruised hands and swollen legs are from chronic venous insufficiency, a condition in older adults in which the legs have trouble delivering blood back to the heart. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt calls the condition benign and common. Late-night TV host Stephen Colbert has made a surprising announcement that CBS is ending his show next spring. As NPR's Mondalit Del Barco reports, the network says it was a purely financial decision.
The live audience at New York's Ed Sullivan Theater was not happy to hear Stephen Colbert deliver the news that this will be his show's final season.
Yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of the Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away.
Colbert has hosted the show since 2015, taking over for David Letterman. The news comes shortly after CBS paid $16 million to settle a lawsuit filed by then-presidential candidate Donald Trump, who Colbert regularly skewers in his monologues. In a statement, the network said ending the show was a financial decision and, quote, not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. That's CBS's parent company. Mondalit Del Barco, NPR News.
The Trump administration says it will provide U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement with the personal data of Medicaid recipients. As NPR's Jimena Bustillo reports, the information will be used to help immigration officers track down people who are in the country without legal status.
The disclosure of information about millions of people enrolled in Medicaid is the latest database that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is using in its efforts to conduct mass deportations. Immigration advocates argue that the data sharing agreements could prevent people who do qualify for public benefits from enrolling. People without legal status are not allowed to enroll in Medicaid, but states are required to offer emergency Medicaid, which is temporary coverage for life-saving services regardless of immigration status. The Trump administration has steadily increased the pressure on federal immigration officers to arrest more people. The latest quota calls for 3,000 arrests per day. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
There are nearly 79 million people enrolled in Medicaid across the country. A new analysis projects the cost of health insurance will spike next year for people in the U.S. who buy their own plans. NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin has more.
There's one big reason why insurance premiums are going up next year. The federal money that had been making premiums lower expires in December. Those enhanced premium tax credits began during the pandemic. Cynthia Cox is with KFF, the nonpartisan health research organization that published the analysis of next year's rates.
Individuals on average are going to pay 75% more than they did this year.
People who are generally healthy might well decide that's not worth it. They'll go without health insurance and risk it. The people who can't do that tend to have chronic conditions or expensive medications, which cost insurance companies more. Cox says that's why health insurance companies are raising rates. Selena Simmons-Duffin, NPR News.
Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Bergum visited Alcatraz Island in San Francisco, moving ahead with President Trump's push to reopen the long-closed federal prison. Katie DiBenedetti with member station KQED has more.
The Department of Justice told KQED that Bondi and Bergum toured the prison and have now directed staff to begin planning to reopen the facility. But San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie says that's unlikely.
They have no realistic plan to make this feasible.
Alcatraz Island is part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area National Park and subject to strict environmental and preservation standards. Those would need to be rolled back by Congress. California Representative Nancy Pelosi's office confirmed it expects Republican lawmakers to bring a bill to the House to do so. The Department of Justice says the plan is to transfer the land to the Bureau of Prisons. For NPR News, I'm Katie DiBenedetti.
The Justice Department is recommending a prison sentence of just 1 day for former Louisville police officer Brett Hankinson. He took part in the deadly 2020 raid that led to the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor in her home. Roberto Roldan with Louisville Public Media has more.
Hankinson is the only officer involved in the raid who's faced legal consequences, but it was a long road to get there. He was acquitted on state-level charges in 2022, and his first federal trial resulted in a hung jury. Hankinson was convicted last year of violating Taylor's Fourth Amendment rights. The Department of Justice, now under President Donald Trump, appears to be questioning whether Hankinson should have been prosecuted in the first place. Their 1-day recommended sentence is much lower than the 11 to 14 years proposed by the U.S. Probation Office. Hankinson's sentencing is scheduled for Monday. For NPR News, I'm Roberto Roldan in Louisville.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.